A reduction in inflation can best be achieved by which of the following combinations of fiscal and monetary policy? So in this question, we're told to find the best possible combination of fiscal and monetary policy to lead to a reduction in inflation. So for this question, we need to refer to two curves to represent the fiscal policy and the monetary policy. So the first curve is the aggregate demand and the aggregate supply curve, where the x-axis represents the real GDP, and the y-axis represents the price level. And this curve has two lines. The upward sloping line represents the short-run aggregate supply, and the downward sloping curve represents the aggregate demand. Now, the next curve we need to model is the money market. And for this curve, we need to represent the x-axis as the quantity of money, which is Q of M, and the y-axis represents the interest rate, which is IR. And for this curve, there are two lines. The downward sloping curve represents the demand for money, and the vertical line represents the money supply. Now, for option choice A, we're told that for fiscal policy, there's an increase in taxes, and for monetary policy, the central bank sells government bonds. So an increase in taxes will result in less consumption spending because the people have less money to spend. So with less money, they spend less. And spending less means that the aggregate demand shifts to the left. And this shift to the left could be represented by the following curve, ED2. And we can see that price level is originally up here, and now after the shift, price level drops to down here. So this does lead to a reduction in inflation. So increased taxing is a good move for the fiscal policy. Now for monetary policy, selling government bonds. So if the central bank sells government bonds, that means they give government bonds to the people, and the people give their money to the central bank. The central bank keeps this money with them, and because this money goes to the central bank, it's not in the market anymore. Because this money isn't in the market, the money supply decreases. So a decrease in money supply could look like a shift left of the money supply. And it would look like the following. And the decrease in money supply would result in the interest rates increasing. As we can see here, an increase in interest rates means that investment spending decreases because with higher interest rates, less loans are taken out and less investment spending is done. Therefore, this will result in a shift left of the aggregate demand curve as well. So selling government bonds is also a good policy. So overall, A seems to be the correct answer. But let's consider the other options as well. So, option choice B says decrease taxes for fiscal policy and buy bonds for monetary policy. This is incorrect because this is the complete opposite of option choice A, and we clearly went through how option choice A was the right option. But let's consider how this would have influenced the graphs. So decreasing taxes would shift the aggregate demand to the right because a decrease in taxes means that consumers are giving less of their money to the government, and because they are giving less money, they have more money in general. Because they have more money, they spend more. So consumption would increase, and this would shift the aggregate demand to the right. And because the aggregate demand is shifted to the right, there would be an increase in the price level, because we can see that originally the price level was down here, now it's up here. So decreasing taxes is a wrong move. Therefore, because decreasing taxes increases the inflation, B cannot be the correct answer, even if buying government bonds were decreasing causing a reduction in inflation. So we can eliminate B, and let's move on to C. Decreasing taxes for fiscal policy, and for monetary policy, lowering the margin requirements. So we know this is incorrect because decreasing taxes is wrong. But let's consider how lowering marginal requirements influences the inflation. So lowering marginal requirements means that the banks are required to hold less money, meaning they can loan more money out. Because they can loan more money out, that means that their money supply would increase. So this can be represented by a shift left to the right in the money supply. This would result in a money supply 2 curve, and this would cause the interest rate to decrease, because originally it was up here, now it's down here. And a decrease in the interest rate means that investment spending will increase, and because investment spending increases, the aggregate demand shifts to the right. And as before, we saw that an increase or a shift to the right in the aggregate demand results in an increase in the price level, or an increase in inflation. So C is also wrong. So let's cross out C. Now let's consider option choice D. Decrease government spending for fiscal policy and lowering the discount rate. So decreasing government spending would directly result in a shift to the left of the aggregate demand curve, because government spending is a direct contributor to the aggregate demand. And this is good because this would result in a decrease in the price level, because initially the price level is up here, now it is down here. And then lowering the discount rate. Discount rate is essentially the rate the central bank charges other banks for borrowing money. So if you lower this rate, that means that the other lower banks would be more incentivized to take out loans. And because they're more incentivized to take out loans, they'll take out more loans, and taking out those loans results in an increase in the money supply. This would be represented by a shift to the right in the money supply, and this is not good because this would result in the decrease in interest rates. A decrease in interest rates would mean investment spending increases, and this would result in a shift right of the aggregate demand. So this would not reduce inflation. So lowering discount rate is not a good move for the monetary policy in combating inflation. So D is also incorrect. E. Increase government spending and raising the discount rate. This is incorrect because increasing government spending would shift the aggregate demand to the right, not to the left. And because of this, the price level would increase, which would result in an increase in inflation, not a reduction. So we can eliminate E, and with that, we're left with A as the correct answer.